Welcome to Overcome podcast, and this is the last episode of 2020. And to close this year in a high note, I have Professor Greg Hamilton, black belt, that has some very inspiring story to tell about going all the way to a ER with an inflammation on his nose because of a jiu-jitsu rolling that went wrong, and how he used that opportunity to completely rebuild his career, create his own business, and now coming up with a DVD of submissions via BJJ Fanatics. Amazing story. Stay right there. Be right back. Welcome to Overcome Podcast. For the last episode of this year, my friend, Professor Greg Hamilton. Thank you very much for being here today and for your time to record this.
Thank you, Yuri, for having me. Merry Christmas, and definitely very grateful for this opportunity and very honored. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Professor, we've talked about some background story that it goes through the theme of this podcast, and you send me some highlights that I'm extremely impressive with the amount of situations that you had to overcome over the years. So I think it's gonna be pretty amazing, this conversation. So let's start all the way back to 2014, because I want to really start from the your jiu-jitsu journey. And in 2014, when you started, 6 months after you started, actually, you had your first major injury. You tore your knee and tweaked your neck. So what was that? It was one of those white belt mistakes, or it was just a freaking accident?
So just a correction, I started jiu-jitsu in 2004, not 14.
Right, four. So this is 2004.
Yes,
Sorry,
yes, yes.
I missed that.
Yeah, we don't want to give any
Yes,
No, I'm just
yes,
kidding.
my bad. 2004
yeah,
correction.
So at the time when I started jiu-jitsu, it was a different type of a jiu-jitsu than we know it today. It was incredibly rough. It was very hard training. And in particular, the place where I started, it was not known as a place where, you would come in and it's all nice and, clean and bright. It was just this kind of hole-in-the-wall place where, a friend of mine was going to train jiu-jitsu. So at that time, I was trading securities. And the guy that I was kind of mentoring in the office and teaching him how to trade, he said, "Oh, I started jiu-jitsu," and I knew what jiu-jitsu was because in 1993 I saw UFC 1 with Royce Gracie and all that. But I really didn't think that it's something that I could do because everything else was just Chuck Norris and Taekwondo and karate and all that.
Mm-hmm.
But he kept on telling me, you should try it. And finally, after about a month, he broke me down. And I tried it, and I came in there, and it was a small place, literally like you walk in through the door, and there's just a little bit of wood, and the owner, who lived in the back of that facility, he was laying on his back, and I remember, and he goes, "Oh yeah, come on in, take your shoes off," and I'm like, "Oh, okay." He goes, "Here, let's roll," and I knew nothing about it. And he says, "Come on, let's roll." I said, "Well, what do I do?" He goes, and at that time, you got to keep in mind, I was really good shape. I was playing basketball every day for hours and hours, like really like competitive basketball. And I would go to like Venice Beach, and I was really like strong, and I was like 6'6", 250, 260. And he says, let's roll. And I said, "What do I do?" He goes, "Well, just try to choke me." And I said, "Like how? Like this? Like a serial killer?" He goes, "Yeah, try that." And I put one knee down, and he pulled me up on top of him in a butterfly garden. And this was let's say he was maybe 5'7", 5'8", maybe 165 pounds. Had that like Iowa wrestler type of vibe.
Mm-hmm.
And he just picked me up, swept me, got on top, choked me, and literally in about 15, 20 seconds, like everybody, I said, "Okay, now I'm ready." And then he choked me out another probably 3-4 times, and probably in, I would say, 70, 80 seconds, I just couldn't breathe anymore. And I said to myself, I really need to learn this language, because this human being who's literally probably about 100 pounds lighter, a foot shorter than I am, just destroyed me. And I need to learn this. So I started training probably about 5 months, 6 months after I started training. It was the first competition that came up, and my instructor, his name was D'Artagnan. We used to call him D for short. And he says, "Hey, you want to go and do this tournament down in Orange County?" Because I was in Los Angeles at that time. And I said, "Yeah, sure. What I do?" He goes, "Oh, there's nothing. Just show up, and then we'll go from there." I'm like, "Okay." So I showed up, and I think it was a Gracie Baja Garden Grove. It was I think Mauricio Tinguia, the one that does the Spider Guard, and I think he was the head of the UFC gym Jiu Jitsu for since the beginning. But anyways, it was just this packed. I mean, like literally the whole academy was packed with for that tournament, and I had no idea what to do, and I just stepped up there with all these big guys, and my first guy that I got wasn't so big, but he went for like a single leg, and then he started just driving me off the mat. And as I kicked my leg back, my knee just went straight down on the concrete, which was literally about maybe this far off the mat. And I didn't realize it then, only after, that I really messed up my knee really bad. I mean, I
Oh,
messed
so
it
you
up
didn't
so
really
badly.
feel immediately.
Not at all. Not at all. I messed it up so bad because literally with full force, it was like literally like doing a knee drop on straight up concrete. And I kept going. I won the first match. I won the second match. And then I lost the third match. And all these guys were like huge. They were like 270, 280, big guys. And they're all like, 3-4 stripe white belts. And I lost to Joe Escoto at white belt, and now he's a black belt, trains under Nino Chambry, and he's a friend of mine. So it was wonderful because we established like a nice friendship, and all the way back then in 2004. So and I hurt my knee really, really bad, but I didn't know that I hurt it. I just thought, I just bumped my knee. You know what I mean? It just, I couldn't bend it or move it or anything, and I think I kind of tore either the meniscus or something, like really damaged the patella. It was pretty
Did
bad.
you have to
So
stop training for some time because of that?
maybe a normal human being would have stopped, but I did not stop, and I just kept going, and progressively it just kind of got better. It was hard to bend, and a couple of weeks went by, and a month, two went by, and the knee got better, but then my instructor had me roll, ironically at that time, with my little brother, who was 14, 15 years old, with no hands. So he said, "Here, roll with your brother, but don't put your hands behind your back." And because I was so much bigger than everybody at that academy, he used to call me cubed, like not squared, but to the third power. You know what I mean? Not that I had any big abilities, but I was just, big, strong, and all that. So he goes, "Cubed." He goes, "Roll with your brother, and just keep your hands behind your back like this." So I was doing a front shoulder roll, and my little brother, who's pretty big also, he just kind of put his weight on me as I was rolling over my shoulder, kind of like this. And I felt my neck go tick, and I was like, oof. And then, Yuri, about 2 days later, in this thumb right here, I noticed numbness right at the tip, and right at the tip right here. And I would do this like a pincer grip, and I couldn't feel my thumb. And then all of a sudden I noticed going up my finger and up this finger, up the hand, and all the way up here, right behind the shoulder and going in the neck. It was the most excruciating pain I have ever had. And the whole arm began to have like this numbness and this non-stop. It was like, it felt like a guitar string going from my index and my thumb all the way up, and the pain going up, and I mean, it's exactly where I'm showing you up here, was
So
excruciating. It was so
you
bad,
pinch a
Yuri,
nerve,
that
basically.
yeah, I herniated a disc in my neck, and it was like either L4 or a C4, C5. And I didn't know that. I didn't know it, but it was so excruciating that at that time I couldn't even drive my car with my left hand. I had to hold it like this, and I had to lay down like on hard surface just to relieve the pressure. That the pain was just so agonizing. I felt like my left hand completely was useless, and I stopped training, and all my muscles atrophied in my left side, my shoulder, everything. And I didn't train for probably about 2-3 months. I was just in such pain. I went to a couple chiropractors, and that was the worst experience because it was so painful. I went to this one chiropractor. He was like a big guy, like football player, like, muscular like you. And he goes, "Oh yeah, you got a stinger. It's a old football injury. I used to have those all the time. Here, we're gonna have to adjust you." And he tweaked my neck to where it felt like somebody sent an electrical like shockwave through my neck and arm and spine. It was excruciating pain, and I thought, thank God it's over. He goes, "Yep, you're gonna have to come back at least 3-4 times a week for the next like 4 weeks." And I said, "There's no possible way I can, I can't take this pain." And another couple months went by, and my teacher, he called, and he goes, "Listen, you got to come back, and you got to start moving, and we got to just build up the muscles in your neck, and if you don't, it's just gonna get worse." And it was agonizing pain.
Yeah, but
I didn't train
how did
probably
you
about
fix it? Just time?
I went to another chiropractor who was more like a doctor, and he sat me down, took X-rays, showed me where, because my vertebrae was literally like this. He showed me exactly where the hernia was, the herniated disc was. He told me exactly the problem. He took a more medicinal approach, and he basically said, he goes, "You've spent such a long time already, like 4 months or so, in this position where you're all like, trying to compensate for that disc." He goes, your body had adjusted for this new position, which is the wrong spinal alignment, and we have to put it back in alignment. He goes, "I'm going to adjust you. It'll go back to normal, and then it'll go back into the new abnormal, let's say. And then you just got to come back, like probably," he said, 3-4 times a week, and we'll eventually fix it. And you just gotta, continue to return. Otherwise, it's just gonna settle in its new incorrect spot." And I did that. I went back to jiu-jitsu, and I started doing shoulder presses, because he explained it's a circular injury, so it heals like this, So he goes that, and you got to build up the muscles around the neck, your traps, your shoulders. And I'd go to jiu-jitsu, even though it was agonizing pain afterwards. I do shoulder press. I do lateral arm raises, lateral raises, forward raises, and push-ups. And eventually, to tell you honestly, it kind of like pushed it back in, and probably took about a month or so before I started feeling better. And it really did make a huge difference. And that was my first real experience with like excruciating, agonizing pain that just it never went away. It's not like I know that you just had surgery on your foot, but you know how like you can kind of just leave it and not move it, and it'll kind of won't hurt as bad, But this was just nerve pain that no matter what position I'm in, I can feel it up my arm.
Yeah.
I can feel it while I'm driving. I can feel it while I'm sleeping. I'm waking up in the middle of the night with this agonizing pain. So it really took a lot to overcome this particular injury. And I really learned about my body. I learned about how I really neglected to be aware of how I was moving and whether I'm putting my body in, risky positions, because you don't think about it, especially in the beginning.
But in some way, it was not so much your fault, because you were rolling with the arms behind your back, which you shouldn't be doing in the first place.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. But at the same time, I thought to myself, I got to extract some kind of lessons in order to apply the experience to moving forward. And and obviously, I never let my students roll with their hands behind their back or anything along the lines. But what this made me do is it made me very hyper of the position of your neck whenever you are in any type of position. and
Right.
it really left a very specific kind of impression on me because I mean, even to this day, I'm incredibly aware of, like, when I roll with anybody, it doesn't matter if it's my students or black belts or upper belts. I'm always aware of the neck position of the person that I'm rolling with, and I'll stop, or I'll let them move out of it, just because sometimes people don't think about it in the heat of the moment. And God
Mm-hmm.
forbid, man, neck injury, spinal injury, it's horrible,
Yeah.
absolutely
Yeah.
horrible. So I definitely overcame that that experience, to say the least.
Yeah, and you did a good thing, as you said. You try to learn with that experience and incorporate what it was good and completely expel what is bad, such as rolling with your arms behind your back. Very old style approach for sure. And then
Not
it
the best
comes,
idea.
yeah. And then 9 years later, 2013, you were already brown belt. So it took you 9 years between white belt to brown belt. But then you
Yes.
discover that you were not really ready for brown belt as soon as you join the Machado Academy, right?
Correct. Yes. That was very, very eye opening. I always, back when I started jujitsu, uh, we the black belt was something that you just did not understand the concept of. You never really saw at that point brown belts, because there were very few, unless it's like some super hardcore academy like Gracie Academy, and but at that time, it just, you didn't see brown belts. Purple belts were like these magical wizards that seemed like black belts. Blue belts, you just looked at he's just going to destroy me, and there's nothing I'm going to be able to do about it. No matter how big you are, no matter how strong you are, that guy's a blue belt, he's going to destroy you. Because at that time, nobody just gave out belts. That time, especially my instructor, it was, you earn it, and that's it. And he didn't care whether it took you 2 years, 3 years, whatever. It
Mm-hmm.
took me a year and 7 months, which was incredibly fast under him. But I think that just the fact that I was really committed and dedicated. So fast forward to
13.
2013. Yeah, I started training at Master Jean-Jacques Machado's academy, because the academy where I was at previously, it literally fell apart due to financial complications, let's just say. And although I understand the various types of business dynamics, it was just a recipe for disaster. And plus, in Los Angeles, the rent alone is so incredibly expensive that an academy, that I remember, that place was maybe 2,500 square feet, but the rent was like $10,000 a month, and it's just amazingly difficult to maintain that type of a business model based on monthly, memberships and students and all that stuff. So, long story short, that academy fell apart, and Master Jean Jacques Academy was literally in Tarzana, California, for many years, where I lived. And the only reason why I did not go there sooner is because I remember when I left D'Artagnan's, and I went. It was in. I started in 2004 with D'Artagnan, and at the end of 2006, I moved to Tarzana. So. And the drive was a little bit long. It was like 30-40 minute drive, and in LA there's like a lot of traffic, and I just and because of just various circumstances due to work, and I couldn't get back there. So I just really wanted to start training. I remember I drove by Jean-Jacques Machado headquarters like 5-6 times, and every time I would drive by in the afternoon, they were closed. They were closed. I would call, answering machine. I would call, and then I called, and then some gentleman with a Portuguese accent picked up, and I said, "Are you guys open?" He says, "No, call back later." And then I call back later. Long story short, it was always closed, and I guess it wasn't meant to be. But I started going there in the beginning of mid 2013, because I was taking my nephew there for the kids class, because they had a really wonderful kids program, and Professor Jay Zabalos, who was Master Jean-Jacques and is currently Master Jean-Jacques' like right hand. He was teaching the kids program, and it was new, and I really appreciated very much their approach, because it was especially at an elite academy. So I was going there already, so I kind of already, they knew me. And, I asked if it's okay if I started training there. And Marcel Santos, who was the general manager and also a black belt, and he's been with Master Jean-Jacques since he was a teenager. He said, yeah, just come by. And I went there to train. And I remember on my first day, I got partnered up with a black belt. And he destroyed me in ways that I've never been destroyed before. Like, literally, it was like a 5-minute round. I think he submitted me maybe 4 or 5 times with the exact same thing. It was from side control, and it was like a scarf hold, step over, armbar, and that's it. He just got that underhook on the far side, pulled my arm, stepped over, and that was it. And I'm like, I couldn't even stop it. It was unbelievable. And I said to myself, I really am gonna have to rebuild myself.
But why do you think that happened? If the previous academy that you said it was really hardcore and everything, why do you think? Just because the guys on the Jean-Jacques Machado were so ahead of time, or the academy that you were was not as tough as you thought it was?
I think it's a couple factors. I think that number one, back in at that time in 2013, and just overall, I remember Jean-Jacques Machado Academy had a very notorious reputation of being one of the roughest and intense academies around, period. And everybody knew that everybody trains hard over there. I mean, it's like full blast training. And even though that everybody's kind of like, obviously on the same team, everybody is it's just pure destruction. Like, you're just going to war every single time you go train. And, and I knew that was the reputation. When I got there, it was already almost at the end of that kind of type of a dynamic, but everybody trained really hard. But there was a combination of factors. I truly believe that at the previous academy, I was promoted to brown belt prematurely. And I think in jiu-jitsu, I think one of the worst things and one of the biggest things that you can really impose a lot of suffering onto a student is when you promote them prematurely to a belt for which they are not ready to be promoted. And because at that time when I was at the previous academy, I was teaching there and I knew the owner over there. And I think that he promoted me to brown belt, not knowing that he's going to have financial issues, but he promoted me, I think, because I like to think it's because he felt that it would be good for me and he wanted to do something that he knew was important to me, but it shouldn't be that way. But at the same time, I think it was better for him that there was a brown belt teaching. And I really devoted a lot of time to teaching, even though I had 2 kids at that time or a second one on the way. And then I had my three almost 4-year-old daughter. And, but I really made jiu-jitsu a priority, even though that I had other business commitments and all that. So I would teach a 6 o'clock class and the 7 o'clock class, and usually probably 3-4 times a week, and then I train pretty much 6 days a week. So I think it was better for his academy. So when I finally got to a place where my brown belt was tested, it really did not hold water. It was very defeating mentally, I gotta say.
Yeah, and for you, it was more like a pleasant surprise, or was a shocking surprise for you? Because when you were promoted, did you feel you were ready, or you just felt that is a good promotion? I'm ready, or were you always skeptical? Am I ready for this?
I was very skeptical, and I knew that I was not ready. I knew down deep inside that I'm just not ready for what I always thought a brown belt was, even though that it wasn't up to me. So I said, okay, well, if my instructor feels that I am ready for brown belt, then who am I to say that I'm not? But down deep inside, I felt that I'm not ready. And this reality got exposed when I got to Jean-Jacques.
So when you went to Jean-Jacques, it was not really a big surprise. It was more like a confirmation to you.
Yeah, it was a big eye-opening reality, because I thought to myself, my God, I barely felt like, I even told Jean-Jacques, I said, Master Jean-Jacques, I said, I just got promoted to brown belt, but I don't even feel like I'm a brown belt. I said, and I just wanted to ask you maybe you can tell me what belt I should wear, because I most certainly don't feel like I'm a brown belt. And Master Jean-Jacques is really nice and gracious, even though he's incredibly intense. But he says, no, he goes, just wear whatever belt you think you are, and it's fine. And, like, meaning that, yeah, whatever. Like you'll either grow into it, and will forge you into whatever you're at now, or you'll end up quitting
Yeah,
anyways. You know
yeah.
what I mean? So it's like that. And I continue to wear the brown belt, and it took probably about a year and a half before Master Jean-Jacques recognized me as a first degree Jean-Jacques Machado brown belt, because you got guys coming in there at a brown belt, and who knows,
Mm-hmm.
you got to make sure that they're loyal. And it's but I really made sure that I'm the type of person that you know I want my work ethic to speak for me. I don't want my words to speak for me. I don't want anything. I wanted him to see, and everybody there to see, that I knew that I sucked, and I wanted everybody to know that I'm ready to put in the work needed in order to just even be able to even begin to scrape at the very bottom level of a brown belt, which I knew that I wasn't, even though that I was wearing one. And I think that that I accomplished that goal, because I began to compete already a little bit at the end of 2013, and then I had my little incident
And
there
what
with.
happened? You got a kick on your nose? Was that during a competition?
I remember as clear as day. I did the 2013. I believe it was the Master Worlds in Long Beach. So all the IBJJF tournaments, big ones, were in Southern California. So they had the Master Worlds at the Walter Pyramid, where they have the Mundials, and it's at Cal State Long Beach. It's a beautiful facility. It's literally a pyramid, and it's very grand. So I remember I went out there, and I lost, because I wasn't the a great brown belt, and I shouldn't have lost. I lost mentally, to tell you honestly, because the guy I went up against didn't really do anything that special, and I just lost mentally, because it was just, that was it. That's and you know how it is with
Yeah.
competition. A huge part of it is
Right.
mental. So that was on a Sunday. On Monday, I'm rolling with a black belt, and this was a black belt, very nice guy, but he always rolled like it was to the death. And because I was a brown belt over at John Jocks, it was this kind of this vibe at that time where God forbid you get submitted by somebody that is lower belt than you are. It's gonna be bad. So I was rolling with this black belt. He mounted me, and he went for an armbar from the mount, and I defended, and you kind of hold your
Mm-hmm.
arms, and he was trying to take my right arm. And what he did was, is that, how he's sitting to my right, he's kind of
He
like
was
just trying to
trying,
pull, and
basically
then
trying to break your grip with his leg and probably kick your
he
face.
was trying to push my far
Yep.
bicep with his leg. So he
Classic.
was trying to, kind of do
Mm-hmm.
that. And what he did was, is that he landed and kicked me right there, right in the nose. And if you notice, my nose has got this dip in it, because it literally like broke. You know what I mean? But not the nose broke, the cartilage. But what really happened was, my nose like literally like exploded. So I went to the bathroom, and I looked, and I'm like, oh man, like that hurt. And wiped the blood off, and I'm like, yeah, seems all right. Went back out there, continued training, and a couple days later, I felt like something was off. So I made an appointment with a ear, nose, throat doctor, and went to see him. I took the heel on a Monday. On a Wednesday, I went to that doctor, and he's looking at my nose, and he goes, "Yeah, you got a deviated septum, and it doesn't look broken." I said, "Yeah, but doctor," I said, "why do I feel like, I don't know, like I'm getting sick or something? I feel like I'm catching a cold." And he goes, maybe it's a coincidence. He goes, yeah, you got a deviated septum. We could fix that. And I'm like, listen, I'm not here for a deviated septum. I'm here because I don't feel good. So Wednesday night, Thursday night, Yuri, by Friday night, I have never, and my whole nose, literally here, I couldn't pass air. It was swollen, And I told at that time my kid's mom, I said, listen, you got to please find me another doctor. I said, something's wrong because I had a fever like I've never felt before.
Wow.
And that following Monday, she found a doctor in Beverly Hills, and we went to see him. He was a nose and throat specialist. So, and he like didn't accept insurance, and I like didn't care because he was the only one that we could get in to see. And and he did. They did all the surgeries for all the very famous singers like Dolly Parton, Kenny Rogers, Celine Dion, and see all these gold records on the walls. And I walked in there, sat down. They put me in the exam room, and then the doctor. I remember Dr. Swartout. He was probably like maybe late 30s, early 40s. Very nice guy, big guy. He comes in here and he looks at me and he goes, oh, and like from across the exam room, and he goes, lift your head up. And he did this. He goes, oh my God. He goes, you got a really bad infection in your nose. He goes, and it looks like staph. And I said, staph? And I've never, and I knew about ringworm. I didn't know about staph. He goes, I'm like 99% sure it's staph. He goes, the only question I don't know, is it staph or is it MRSA? He goes, so they did a swab, they did the test, and it wasn't staph, it was MRSA, which is wonderful because that's the multi-resistant staph. So they put me on antibiotics. He drained the nose and packed it with medication. I felt horrible, Yuri. It was insane torture. It was painful. It was just misery. For 3 weeks, I went to that doctor's office every single day. He would cut my nose open. He would pack it with medication. They gave me the strongest antibiotics that were not IV, and I would go home. And at that time, we were expecting our second daughter, and so we were already into like a 6 month of pregnancy. I had a 3-year-old daughter that I can't really even come near because I'm afraid that I have like staph or MRSA,
Mm-hmm.
and it was just a nightmare. But I can't, and I'm laying there literally dying, and it was the most insane feeling because literally a week, 2 weeks went by, literally all the muscles atrophied. I looked at myself. I looked literally completely unrecognizable. It was insane, and it
Did
just
you
got
ever
worse and
find
worse.
out why did you have this infection?
Well, yeah, because I had a fracture in my nasal cavity, so staph got in there, and it turned into a MRSA,
Mm.
and that was it. And especially because I waited so long before I actually went on to antibiotics, that was it. So probably about 3-4 weeks after I got onto medication and I went to that Beverly Hills doctor. They were sending me already to an infectious disease specialist doctor who handles literally like infections and everything related to infectious disease. And this was an amazing doctor, and his office was in a Cedar Sinai medical building, and like Cedar Sinai, the famous hospital. And I went to his office for Dr. Pozalski, his name was, and he saved my life already a couple times. And he said, he goes, let's do this. He goes, how about we go to the emergency room right now, and let's get you admitted to the ER. And I need to start IV antibiotics, like literally right away, because I'm concerned that it may be the infection may be getting into your bloodstream, and if it does, you got probably about a 99% chance that you may not make it if it gets into your bloodstream and there's
Ooh,
sepsis.
wow.
And I remember I told him, I said, yeah. I said, look, I'm nervous. I got a few things to do. He goes, look, you got 103 fever, you got 120 pulse, and it's not because you're nervous. Let's go. We'll get you admitted. And we went and got me admitted. And Yuri, I got to tell you, I was literally right on the edge of death's door, and
Wow. And
it
all
was
because of a bad armbar. Unbelievable.
all because of taking a heel from a guy who just, felt that he needed to get that arm at all cost, and cost me a fracture in my nasal cavity. And I remember when I was finally after 6 hours, because with staff they're not going to admit you right away because they are taking all the cardiac patients. And I finally got admitted, And I'm laying there in the ER. They finally put the IV in and all that. And I'm looking at the clock, and I remember as clear as day, I'm thinking to myself, is this it? It was like 2 in the morning. The seconds are going tick,
Hmm.
like
Yeah.
minutes. And I'm thinking, wow, I'm like, is this really my time? Is this the way I'm going to go? There's so much I haven't done. I got a 3-year-old daughter. I got one on the way, 6 months pregnant. And I can't believe that this may be it. And then they took me upstairs and they took me to do a CT scan. And I remember they put me in the tube. They did the test. They pulled me out of the tube. They put me on the bed off the like machine onto the gurney or whatever it's called. And I remember looking. It was like a movie. I'm looking through that glass window where I see the technician, and then I see Dr. Swartout, who's the one that I first saw that, told me that it was infected and that treated me for like 3 weeks. And then I look and I see Dr. Pozowski. It's 3 in the morning, And then I look and I'm thinking to myself, this is like a movie. They're going to walk out and they're going to tell me right now if I'm going to live or die.
Wow.
Literally. And I said, and I said to myself, you know what? It is what it is. It's all out of my hands. I pray to God that, that it's not it. If it is, what can I do? And Dr. Przalski came out. He was on my left side. I remember he did this. He goes, look, he goes, you know what? He goes, you have a fracture in your nasal cavity, and that's why you're still bleeding. He goes, thankfully, there's no sepsis. You're going to be okay. And even though that your nose is going to be messed up like this already, he goes, but that's the worst of it. And you're going to be fine. We're going to take you back to the room, keep you on IV antibiotics. And then they discharged me, and a nurse was coming to my house 5 in the morning and 7 p.m. for a week, and they left one of those shunts in my arms so that they can hook up the IV, a
Yep.
clindamycin,
Yep.
and another something. And for a whole week, I was at home getting IV at 5 in the morning
So
and 7
that
p.m.
was
twice a day for
probably
about an hour.
with that you probably got out of training for at least a couple of months, right?
I was out for about 3 months. I did not return until like December 28th. I was out for about it was probably about 2.5 months. Yeah, I mean I couldn't walk, Yuri. I couldn't even walk. I could barely drive. It was I literally thought I was gonna die. I didn't think I'd make it.
Did
Period.
you
And
did you
thankfully I did.
ever consider, for example, or did you ever reflect during this time off? Well, this is the second injury with this jiu-jitsu thing. Should I stop, or do you never really thought about stopping?
And I remember as clear as day when I was laying in the ER before they took me up to get the CT scan. I said to myself, if I make it through this experience, I'm going to change everything in my life. I'm going to completely reevaluate how I live my life, how I spend my time, how I train, what kind of an approach I have to making time with my at that time already almost 4-year-old daughter, with my family, because I was working and I was in a very consuming business at that time, and training jiu-jitsu was the only thing keeping me sane, and I had a lot of pressure from all over, and I was in this more developmental phase of that particular business, and it was very, very complex and very pressure filled. The jiu-jitsu just kept me sane, and I said to myself, I never thought of quitting. No way, no possible way. But I did say to myself, I'm gonna completely evaluate my life and how I live my life, and I promised that for myself and to myself, and I did exactly that. So, and I said, when I come back, I'm coming back completely different. This is going to be a different human being. And Yuri, I did exactly just that. I came back. It was at the beginning of 2014. Everything changed. Took a completely different approach to business, to life, to family, to kids, to everything. It was my defining moment at that time to truly overcome something that seemed like I would never overcome. I started literally like with nothing, because I had lost a lot of weight. I had literally got out of shape because you're not doing anything.
Yeah.
I was bedridden for like 2 months, and I started a whole new life beginning of 2014.
And what did you change on your training? Did you were more pick with partners and only rolling with people that you trust more. Because this is a sad reality in jiu-jitsu sometimes, is that
Yeah.
depends on your age and your physical condition and your goals. Sometimes it's really not a good idea to roll with everyone. Sometimes it's good to actually pick and choose with who you can roll with.
Yeah, you do have a good point. I think that everybody, eventually when you're, at your home academy, you get to know everybody, and you get to know, how they roll. They may be a nice person, before and after the roll, but during the roll, that guy may roll hard, that guy may roll crazy, that guy rolls smooth, that guy is big guy, but he's, very careful. That guy's a small guy and he'll twist your head off. So you got to really pick and choose. It's just kind of like going to the gym, and depending on what body part you want to work out and what intensity, it's like this is, the equipment that you choose relative to your training partners. But what I felt was what I needed to do, since I completely deteriorated physically. I committed myself to starting strength and conditioning. And one of the biggest inspirations for me was, the Greasy Baja legend, Hamilo Bahal. Okay. So Hamilo was doing strength and conditioning nearby where I lived, at a place with Leo Francu. And Leo is like a world champion Romanian freestyle wrestler. So I would always see Hamilo posting him doing all kinds of different like awesome conditioning, and I thought, wow, I really wanted to do that. So I knew where Leo's gym was, and it was in Sherman Oaks over there in San Fernando Valley, and I would drop by it all the time. So I went to Leo, I met with him, and I said, listen, I really want to get into shape. I feel that, and I told him my story. I told him, coming off the injury and all that. And I started training with Leo in the same capacity as Hamilo was, minus, because what Hamilo obviously was doing, I could not do physically because Hamilo was like in elite shape. And I began to rebuild myself. It took me a while, and and Leo is a huge ball buster. He's literally he's not the tallest guy, but he is one of the most intense guys ever. And he put me through a program that I was coming to see him twice a week, and I was training 5-6 times a week. And he literally rebuilt me in a matter of probably about 6-8 months into a completely new, rebuilt version of me. After which, probably about 6-8 months into the training with Leo, then one day he told me, and he taught me like so much. He taught me how to breathe. He taught me how to pace myself. He taught me just overall just how to managing my strength and output and endurance and all that. And about like closer to like 8-9 months after I started training with him, he goes, you know what, Greg? He goes, now you're actually ready for me to train you. And then we really started training. And then I was doing actually similar to what Hamilo was doing, because I was in the best shape of my life. Right now I'm in the best shape of my life, but at that time I could not believe what my body was able to do relative to where I was. And before I took that heel in the nose, I was nowhere near that condition, and everything changed. My jiu-jitsu improved. I never considered picking and choosing training partners and all that. In fact, I began to choose the guys that I knew were the let's just say the baddest ones over at Jean-Jacques, because I wanted to constantly test myself. And I really, and nobody really knew what I was doing relative to strength and conditioning, but they would all tell me, they're like, man, he goes, you feel a lot more powerful, a lot stronger, and my endurance was up, and I always had good cardio, but everything changed. And probably at the end of 2014, mid 2014, I would say, everything in my jiu-jitsu changed thanks to the conditioning that I was undergoing. And that's right about that time when I began to use my lapels in order to be able to apply that one first submission that I started using and developing, which took me also probably about 4 or 5 months to actually execute. But it was really because it was very difficult at Jean-Jacques. The problem is that it's very difficult to achieve a submission on guys that were like anything even like high purple, forget brown, black. It's just a back and forth roll, and typically you're the one getting submitted.
Hmm.
So, and good luck choking a black belt or a brown belt. Good luck armbarring them. Good luck with any of it. You had to come up with something like literally, unique.
Yep.
And I came up with a lapel type of entry where they would turtle, because I noticed a lot of guys would turtle, and they would kind of sit there. And then I said, oh well, if I feed my lapel through here, feed it to my hand, and kind of step over, I literally have a lapel choke that's very difficult to get out of. And I began to work on that. It took me about 5-6 months of practice and failure. But I finally began to accomplish it right around like second half, towards the end of 2014. Yuri, it redefined my whole jiu-jitsu. It gave me purpose. It gave me direction, because every roll, I said to myself, I need to make whoever I'm rolling with turtle, turtle, turtle. And that became my whole mission. And I began to have a lot of success with that, to say the very least. And I became known for that submission that Master Jean-Jacques ultimately called the Gregorian lapel choke, as he called it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. One thing that I notice with athletes and people that do martial arts is that their journey is very similar to yours from the point of view that they have ups and downs, and usually when you go down, you usually come back much better. It happened to you in 2013. You went all the way
Yeah,
down, lost everything, almost died, and then you came back and redefine
yeah,
yourself. So I've seen this trend in many other interviewers, guests
yeah,
that I have in the show. So it's very interesting to see this trend, because right after that, right after you redefine yourself, 2014, 15, 16, you got your black belt, which
yes.
was of course an amazing moment, getting the black
Yeah.
belt. But and then right after that, 2019, you move and you build your own gym here in Texas.
Yes, yes. Ever since I started jiu-jitsu, you don't understand in the beginning, even at white or even at blue, you don't have an understanding about what really a black belt is. But I always had incredible role models and mentors, from Hoyce Gracie and Horian Gracie, Grandmaster Horian Gracie, and at the Gracie Academy, and my longtime trainer Pat King, and who was one of Hoyce's original black belts. And I was literally, at one point, I'm starting jiu-jitsu because of Hoyce Gracie, and then in 2007, I'm standing next to Hoyce Gracie, helping him teach a seminar, and I'm part of Hoyce Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. It was just literally surreal, but I always felt that was a calling that I needed to achieve. It brought out the best of me. It gave me an opportunity to understand what struggle is. I think that nowadays a lot of people lack overcoming struggle,
Hmm.
and life is about struggle,
Yeah.
and life can be so much more punishing than jujitsu ever will be. It's just that in jujitsu, everything happens like, it's immediate. You go to train and you're immediately put in a position of struggle, of problem solving, discomfort, finding how to be, figuring out how to find comfort when you are uncomfortable. This is a major part of jiu-jitsu, and applying the techniques that you learn in order to create solutions for bad positions. And this immediately translates to life outside of the mat, because jiu-jitsu helped me so much dealing with things that had nothing to do with jiu-jitsu. I was born in the Soviet Union in 1974. The Los Angeles. We came to Los Angeles in 1981 from Moscow, and we lived in Los Angeles, which is the largest Russian and Armenian community outside of Soviet Union.
Hmm.
And always dealing with and dealing with certain businesses that dealt with Russians. It's an incredibly aggressive nationality, and the men are incredibly aggressive, and they're aggressors. So if they smell weakness,
Yep.
they'll exploit that. And in business, because the way that I looked at it is that, and I saw this a lot, it's, business conversation breaks down and people start fighting and all kinds of stuff, and it was just a common thing,
Mm-hmm.
like. And these aren't fighters. These are just guys that, Russian guys that had a lot of money and just have no nonsense, and they get in an argument with another guy about whatever business, whatever, and then all of a sudden start hitting each other, and that just, kind of the environment that I was dealing with back then. And jiu-jitsu helped me a lot because it gives you this confidence to know that in that situation you don't have a problem with taking it that far.
Right.
And when you learn about yourself to the point where you understand that in the primal male world and hierarchy, uh, a business meeting is just a civil conversation. But in any boardroom, no matter how sophisticated or how not sophisticated it may be, at some Russian restaurant where they're talking about this business or that business, or at some conference room, if the conversation breaks down, really what's going to depend on who ultimately wins that particular negotiation is the one that's going to be able to kick the other man's ass. Simple. And this is an unspoken type of posturing that
Mm-hmm.
happens when you're dealing with men, especially ones that tend to be more aggressive. So jiu-jitsu really helped me in ways that I never really had to use, just because I think that projected the type of energy where if you want to take it that far, I don't have a problem. But I think also the fact that I had cauliflower ear also helped me out quite a lot, because you really don't want to mess around with that one guy that's got the cauliflower ear.
That's
You know
true.
what I
That's
mean?
true.
So,
Well,
so yeah.
and talking about business, when you moved to Texas, you create your own business, and I was a testimony of how it started. I visited your academy many times
Yeah.
when it was starting. It is incredible that even with COVID, it has grown so much with a really loyal community around you, which is
Very.
quite amazing. How we were able to build that academy with so many loyal students in such a short period of time, and also in the middle of a pandemic.
Yuri, first and foremost, I really wanted to first, tell and how grateful I am for all of your support, for all of your graciousness, and how kind and welcoming you were to me when I first got here. That you have been supportive of my jiu-jitsu journey, and us opening up Carlos Machado in Bedford over here. And I just really wanted to thank you personally, from one brother to another. And truly, I'm
Absolutely,
very
absolutely.
humbled and honored to have so much support, and you're one of those who definitely supported me, and still does, and I'm very grateful for that. I left a life behind in 2019 of April. I moved my family out here, and I wanted to start a new life. I felt that I got way too caught up in living a life in LA that was rooted in a lot of and just kind of, you get stuck in this financial hamster wheel, and you don't even realize that you're in it. And I was very unhappy. I was incredibly stressed out. The only thing in my life that was making any sense was jiu-jitsu. I always wanted to have an academy in LA. It's very difficult to open up your own jiu-jitsu academy, apart from the fact that just logistically there's just so many jiu-jitsu schools out there. But even aside from that, it's just financially, it's just the mainly high. So my best friend from childhood lived out here for 25 years, Rick Whitten, and he would always tell me, you should come out, come out, come out. And then, my life circumstances turned in such a strange way that at the beginning of 2019, he actually ended up coming out to visit his family in LA, and then we met up, and we talked, and he just said, just come on out here and we'll open up this academy, and and we can do it, and you should do it. And and because he started training first at Travis Luter's in 2015, and then due to he started training up at headquarters at Farmers Branch with Master Carlos Machado. So after I talked to Rick, I talked to Master Jean-Jacques, and I asked him if it's okay, Because in 2018, I asked him, would it be okay if I moved to Texas and opened up Jean-Jacques Academy? And Jean-Jacques said, Best Jean-Jacques goes, that's my brother's territory, and it just kind of wouldn't look that good if you went out there, and it just probably wouldn't be a good idea. And I left it alone. But then I talked to him in 2019 after I met with Rick, and I said, look, I said, I really would love to be able to move out there. It's for the greater good of my family to start a new life. And as much as I love, you and being Jean-Jacques Machado black belt, I'll always be a Jean-Jacques Machado black belt, because nothing will change the fact that you promoted me. But maybe would it be possible if you would be able to talk to Master Carlos Machado, and possibly, I could come out there and be under him and open up an academy with him. And Jean-Jacques talked to Master Carlos. Master Carlos talked to Jean-Jacques. I came out to Texas. And I think everything worked out with the blessing of both. Master Carlos is an amazing human being. Without Master Jean-Jacques' blessing and him paving the way, I never would have been able to do this. And I feel that I was incredibly blessed, And we opened up here on November 1st, and we had an incredibly large number of new students join, and it was incredibly humbling. And we were adding literally probably 20, 25 new students a month. By the time we opened up, we hit 100 students before December 31st, and then we were on pace to literally 25 new students a month, January, February, and then
COVID.
At the end of February, it went, and March it went, and then mid March, it really got problematic, because obviously we were told to close down. And everybody closed down, and with the through the grace of God and just blessing that I can't even explain, we have the most amazing students. We had students that refused to stop paying for their monthly tuition. They continued to pay even though that we were closed. It enabled us to keep the lights on, enabled us to pay the rent, because the landlord still wanted the rent.
Of course, yeah.
The city still wanted all the bills. We did not get any so-called PPE relief or any paycheck protection or anything like that, because we're like a new business. So we didn't get any financial help. And without our students and their love and support, and them believing in me and my vision, and the support that we had, it was just unbelievable. It was just, and then when we was in March, April, May, and I think May 18th, May 19th, we opened up. It was challenging, because those were some challenging times. You never know what's going on with this virus, and especially in this particular industry, it's there's no worse industry than jiu-jitsu for this particular so-called pandemic. You know what I mean? But thank God we have never had any issues with that situation. Thank God we have incredibly healthy students. Everybody's very, very cautious and courteous and clean and everything. And and since we opened up in May, we've been adding a lot of students, and everything's been growing and growing and growing.
And again, it just proves what I said before. Ups and down, because you have that down phase of 3 months, and then you are coming back strong, and then you boom release a whole DVD talking about the Gregorian Lapel submission system, which when I saw, I was like, wow, I remember him choking me with that. That's awesome.
Yes,
because we rolled one time, and you choked me with, and I didn't see coming. I was like, wow, that's awesome. There is now a DVD that teaches that. So talk about more about this DVD. That's amazing.
I had one submission. It was just basically, when you turtle, I'll feed the lapel. It's basically a Peruvian necktie using the lapel, and Jean-Jacques called it the Gregorian lapel choke. So why? Because, I was blessed to be able to get really good at setting that up, and I was very successful with that, let's just say, at headquarters. I didn't make a lot of friends with that particular submission, but it was very effective. So when we reopened, I'm very blessed to have very talented lower belt students, white belts. I have some of the most amazing white belts that I've ever trained with. I mean, and everybody says it who visits our academy, how amazing our white belts are. And and also, with training with at that time Coach Philip, now Professor Philip Bullock, who was basically my main training partner, Professor Brad Scott, who always forged me in ways that I'm incredibly blessed, because Professor Brad is just the most savage jiu-jitsu mentor and teacher that I've ever had, that hands-on literally like has forged me into what I believe is the best version of myself as a black belt that I could be. Without him, I wouldn't be where I'm at today without Professor Brad, hands down. And I just began having a hard time applying the same submission the same way onto my students, and I began to create alternative ways of applying the same submission. And then at night, I do a lot of thinking, because I live and breathe jiu-jitsu, and that's all I do. And, I'm laying there in the middle of the night, and I'm thinking, well, what if I did it this way? Maybe it would work this way. And I would come up at night in my head different ways of applying this same exact fundamental entry, but from different positions.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got a second one. I had a Gregorian step over, then I had a Gregorian reverse, and then I had from side control. I said, well, maybe if I feed it this way while they're on side control, because if you go from a turtle and then they turn to their side, if they turn away from you, you got them in a side control. But what if I feed it kind of around their neck and under their arm? I'm like, oh my, it's there too. If they face into me, I kind of got a Darce feed, and I came up literally one after another after another. And obviously, BJJ Fanatics is the premier company that deals with the best of the best in the world, with the Gordon Ryans and the John Danahers,
Mm-hmm.
and Bernardo Faria with his trademark, okay guys, huge honor, and I've always seen their videos, and I just never in a million years could have imagined that I would have a DVD instructional based on a Gregorian lapel submission system on BJJ Fanatics. And they agreed to release the system on the merits of this particular effectiveness of this system, because I'm not a world champion. I don't have any competitive accomplishments to speak of, but I believe that I really am let's just say I love jiu-jitsu very much, and this submission system is my true masterpiece, and I know that it's effective. I use it all the time. My students learn it and use it all the time. Some of my students even used it in
Yeah,
competition.
I seen one of your student, girl, using it. That was
Yes.
amazing.
Yeah, she's been training for like 4 or 5 months, and she pulls it off. It was one of the proudest moments. Donovan nailed it back in February at Jiu-Jitsu World League. He was just, got, I mean, how good Donovan
Yeah.
is, And it really grew into something amazing. And Philip, myself, and one of our students, Webb, filmed this I think it was in October or November, and sent it over to BJJ Fanatics. They did a great job editing it, and it was released, ironically, on December 14th, which was the exact 4-year anniversary of my promotion to black belt.
Wow,
So
what a
and
coincidence.
yeah, and it really and they didn't tell me because they're just busy, and it's holidays. And I just looked up Greg Hamilton BJJ on Google. I was just kind of looking to see what our search results are like, and I look and I see BJJ Fanatics, the Gregorian lapel submission system, and it was like this feeling of like it was as if like I had a baby or something, you know what I mean? And it was amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah.
I can't express to you how much great feedback I've received from people I don't even know who they are, from all over the world, who said that they really enjoy this DVD. They really have been practicing it and really have it's something unique. The great thing about this system, Yuri, and I don't want to keep going on and on about it, but the thing is this. In all of jiu-jitsu, and I've never seen a system that is based off of what I created. I took something that would work for me, and I turned it into a system that has different stages, and it's basically like a funnel. And if you get the person moving into this funnel, into the turtle, and then from the turtle, they're either going to move one way or another, you're eventually going to get them stuck in a Gregorian lapel submission web, and you can catch them if you understand the system enough. And there's nothing like it. As much content as they have on BJJ Fanatics of all the different instructionals, there's nothing even close to what this Gregorian lapel submission system is, and I'm really, really super proud of it. It's not that I just took and kind of redid some guard passing my way or some chokes my way or whatever, because how many ways are you going to do chokes? But with the lapel, nobody's even doing it. I've never even seen Keenan Cornelius in his lapel encyclopedia even do any of this kind of stuff. So I'm very grateful to be working on DVD Part 2, which we're going to release in probably in about February.
That's amazing, Greg. Professor Greg. Yes. We could talk for hours because you have so much content to share. So I just want to say thanks a lot for spending this time educating our audience. Also, thank you very much for the work you do at the Academy. Is very helpful for the entire community. Everyone that is around you is much happier. I've seen that. I've seen the change in the area. I've seen how you guys are done in the competitions. Your style of coaching, very engaged. I really like that as well. So thank you very much for everything you do, and keep up the great work. I hope that 2021 we don't have up and downs, and you can continue to grow steadily up and up.
Definitely, Yuri. Thank you very much, and I'm very happy to see that your foot is healing. I know you're coming off of a surgery. I know you got some big competitive goals and things that you want to achieve, and you've been a big source of inspiration to me. And I love watching you grow and all the amazing output that you do, especially on weekends where you're lifting weights and doing all kinds of crazy stuff over there at your house, while others are just kind of sitting around. So I'm very grateful to have your support and great to see you back on your feet, brother. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Professor Greg, take care. Happy New Year. Let's dominate 21. Take care, my friend.
Yes, sir. Happy New Year. God bless. Thank you very much, Yuri. Thank you.